Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Sands of Time and End of Life Journey. My name is Susan Caperso, End of Life Doula.
Hi, I'm Lisa Strauss Lawrence, and today we're going to be talking about the bereavement process. Our other videos have covered the stages of the end of life, and today, difficult as it is, we'll talk about our lives without the loved one. They are gone. For me, the most important thing that really resonates is the fact that the finality. We wake up the next day and that person is no longer there with us. We know that it was going to happen. We have thought about it. We anticipated it. But now the fact is that that it is it. And so the reality of that person no longer being in our life and never hearing that person voice again and never having that person near us, no matter what we went through, is just a difficult pill to swallow for all of us.
And Lisa, everything's magnified at that time too, right? Everything's magnified.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
And so what I really want us to think about is that it is a process. It doesn't just go away. It doesn't just disappear. We need to allow ourselves the time to grieve. And I will tell you from everybody who I've spoken to and all the input that I've seen and heard, if you don't allow yourself to grieve, it will come back to you in some way. There will be something that comes up where you can't cope or something that you're angry about and you don't know why, but it will come back to the fact that you didn't give yourself the time to really mourn the loss of that person. Whether it's tears or being angry or being overwhelmed or feeling like you can't cope, all those feelings
They're
are,
all natural.
that's
They're
right.
all natural. Feeling
That's
like you
right.
can't focus, like you're distracted,
That's
like
right.
you can't do one little simple tasks. I think this is good discussion, Lisa, because if people know that yes, that's normal. They're supposed to be feeling these horrible, overwhelming feelings. I think it'll be mentally a little bit easier to know when it happens that I'm
Yes.
supposed to feel this way.
Absolutely. Even in our daily chores, I'll just tell you, I'll share mine. And that was that my husband and I always went shopping together. That's just something we did. And so for almost a month, I dragged my son with me to go shopping because I really didn't want to shop alone. And that's just a very
Huge.
basic activity. But I truly could not bring myself to go to that store by myself. I could not.
And that's huge. That's huge for so many people that do their shopping together and their regular tasks together.
Yeah, cooking together and doing family things together. And of course, things might have changed anyway because that person was sick, but you still think about those things that united you and that you were used to. It's like a yin yang, and now it's off. The whole thing is off. Your balance
Oh,
is
yeah. You feel
is off.
tired all the time. You feel weak all the time. And that's normal too,
Absolutely.
and you're cloudy,
Yes.
really.
Yes, absolutely. So the thing is getting through each day, day by day. And
Yeah.
I think that part of it is just trying to set very small goals, even if it's just waking up and getting dressed. That's a big deal. Just to be able to feel like you can face a day is a big deal. There are so many challenges in getting through the days. I will tell you that only 10 days after my husband died was my birthday. And birthdays, for some people, they just pass and it's not a big deal. But birthdays in my life and my family were a very big deal. And so my kids were still there. They were still, hanging with me in the house. And they decided they would treat me to a spa day. And I didn't really want to go because I felt like I didn't really deserve some happiness and something fun to do at that time. But I went, and the entire day was all about me, was all about, soothing and just treating me, caring for me. It was a really, really special day.
Lisa, I
And
relate to that. And I gotta just tell you,
go
because
ahead.
at where I get my pedicures, They have the chairs that you can lean over and they rub the back of you. And I found that I was going weekly because you crave comfort. Doesn't matter who it's coming from, you
Right.
crave that stroking and comfort because it makes your heart feel a little bit better for just a couple minutes, you know.
Yes. Yes,
Forget it.
absolutely. And I even changed my hair at that time.
Mhm.
I felt like I wanted like a new me. Um, and it was a big deal because I went from gray to, my natural color. And gray was fine with my husband and I. It didn't ever seem to be a problem. But I decided there and then, you know what? I'm going to try something new. And it was a hard decision, but it was a really good decision because I was doing something else for me, something special for me. And so I got through the day somehow, as some people do. And let's just talk about those days. I talk about firsts, and firsts are really a challenge for people. First birthdays without that person, first anniversary without that person. And there are a number of choices that you have about that. And there's no right or wrong, by the way. There's just a feeling of, well, what can I do? What maybe are some options for me? And then how do I feel about it? So you can pretend it's just another day. Get through the day, doesn't really matter, and that's the end of it. And that's it. You can dread the day and get through it as best you can. Oh my goodness, it's coming up to my birthday. What am I going to do? And, that kind of dread, which again piles up and makes you feel a little uncomfortable. Or you can celebrate that day. You can remember the individual, and you can even do some of the things that he or she might have done. I'm going to give you a really interesting example about my father. My father died of a massive coronary, so there was no planning. There was, it was really shock, period. So a couple of days after was Father's Day, and he had already bought tickets to the Special Olympics games at the time, and they were just very much, they were close to us. They were right up the street from us. And I told my mother when it came to Father's Day, I said, let's do what Daddy wanted to do for that day. He bought these tickets, and let's go anyway, even though he isn't there with us. And we did. And I felt really good about the fact that we were doing something that he had planned,
Yeah,
even though he wasn't with us.
sure.
So again, that's a really good anniversary. Yeah, an idea of celebrating, that birthday or that anniversary or whatever, or a special day like Father's Day, Mother's Day, all those days, which now you have to figure out what you're going to do about it. My
And some
mother's not
people
alive,
do
and
the same thing on people's birthdays. Like with my husband, it was he didn't want to go out. He didn't want big dinners. Let's just get Chinese food. And he would order $50, $60 worth of Chinese food takeout. So he'd have leftovers for 2 days. So now it's become a thing, and it's a funny thing, but we'll order a ton of Chinese and have that on his birthday. So these little things bring you meaning.
right. And you feel like you're doing what he would have done, right?
Yes.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. And for me, as the birthdays have passed and the anniversaries passed, I love videos. I love pictures, and we have a lot of them. So I've watched certain movies that mean a lot to me, or I've watched videos that are really special, that were really our favorite videos, or movies that mean a lot to me. My
You were
father,
telling me about you have Ghost, right? Is
so
one
in the
that
anniversary, yeah, just so appropriate. So the anniversary of my husband's death, I watched Ghost, and really interesting because Patrick Swayze died of the same disease as my husband, pancreatic cancer. They were sick at the same time,
oh,
and his wife's name is Lisa, like me,
ah,
and they were married the same amount of years as
ah,
Fred and I were together. So I see a lot of synchronicity,
yeah.
and I love the movie because I love its meaning. And it's a very special movie, very special. And
And
I've chosen. Go ahead.
I get that with the movies. My husband's favorite movie was Braveheart. And that's a 4-hour movie, I think. It's really, really long. So when you had told me about the movie thing, and I have been looking now, my husband's been gone 7 years, and it's still just as hard. When I see Braveheart once in a while on the guide, I just go right past it. I can't even put on the channel because seeing it and hearing it is too hard for me. But it was our anniversary, and it was a big anniversary, and I was home by myself, and I lit a bunch of candles, and I says, you know what? What's on TV? And it was the perfect moment that it was right there, just starting at that moment.
Wow.
That I've got this. I can do this, and I did it for him, and it was really soothing. Now I understand why he loved the movie so much. It was a soothing, kind of peaceful story, and that's what I got out of it. So now maybe I'll incorporate that for my anniversary ritual.
And again, it becomes a personal thing. I mean,
Sure.
these are the things that mean something to me. This is what gives me comfort. Don't know that everybody will feel the same way,
Right.
but trying to find what does do that for you during this time period and getting through the days and getting through the weeks, very important. You create new regimens, new routines, bills. I didn't even know how to, and we did all our bills together, but I couldn't figure out how to do them now in an organized way because I just felt out of sorts. And my kids set up a billing system, which I keep today, on how to put the bills in by month and week, etc. I mean, it's not a big deal, but it was at the time because I felt totally overwhelmed. Again, something else that my husband and I did, just, as a routine.
And you're hit with this right away.
You are.
Because right away, what's the first question? Well, how many death certificates do you need? What
That's
do you
right.
mean? How many do I need? Give me one.
That's
But
right.
really, you don't need one. You do need more.
I needed 8. I
For
needed 8.
different things, right.
That's
So
right,
I
for
got
different
between
things.
6 and 8 of them, and
Yep.
I've used almost all of them. So you do need them. But it
That's right.
starts there, and then your bills, and then the paperwork, and then things that come in the mail, and everything's overwhelming.
It
Everything.
is.
So
It
know
is.
that, but also know what, Lisa, that it does get a little lighter.
It does. And you know what? People, not everybody, but people find it difficult to ask for support. This is the time that you reach out to people and say, hey, I just need your help with this. Or please give me some advice. Or what do you think about? And some of us who are in charge all the time or feel in control, you know what? It is so important to feel that it's okay to get, and people want to know. People ask me, what can I do to help you? What can I do? And you don't always know what to answer, but people were cooking.
Genuinely do want to help when they say,
do. Oh, they absolutely do. They absolutely
think about
do.
yourself. If I say to you, what can I do? I would love for you to tell me to do something for you.
Exactly.
I would feel useful and helpful.
Exactly.
And people are like that. They want to help.
Yes.
So really right now, over the first even months, pull people into your life.
Yes.
It's a struggle doing that, yes, and you want to put the jammy pants on and have a nice big comfy blanket on you 24/7.
Yes.
But take advantage
Yes.
of people and communicating.
Yes.
That's important.
It is. It is. People come with food. They cook casseroles and they're trying to just comfort you and give you something that you might need. And food is one of those things. Be really grateful that people are cooking for you.
And then put it in the freezer.
And put it in the freezer. That's right. That's right.
Just say thank you and be nice. And then another feeling, right, as time starts to go on, is we might have a good day here and there. We might have, interjected into that week, there might be a good day. But then what happens, Lisa?
Well, then you feel guilty.
Guilty.
What am I doing? Why shouldn't I feel,
You feel ashamed.
sad? Yes.
That I don't have the right to feel good.
Right.
He's gone now, or she's gone, and I have no right to feel good. I should feel pain all the time. But grab those good days. Grab them, and you do deserve that. You do.
Besides the fact that person would want you to be happy. We all know that. Our loved ones would not want us to be grieving to the point where we have no life. I was lucky that my husband said that to me. I mean, his last words were, promise me you won't live alone the rest of your life. That's a gift.
Chills when you say that every time.
That's a gift. That's a gift.
Certainly a gift.
Yeah. Yeah. And then again, figure out what you can do to move along in your own pace. For
Right.
me, I was a person of action. That gave me comfort. So I did an online memorial, which for me was right. He already had expressed his feelings about cremation, and also it wasn't like a grave that some people go to visit, which gives them comfort, which is fine. But for me, to have an online memorial site that I could create that everybody could go to, they could leave virtual flowers, they could leave virtual candles that they could write in the guest book. I still use that. It's 12 years and I'm still using that, and I'm still posting different things. I have a journal on there, which, is beautiful. And it gives me a lot of comfort to see what people have said about him through the years. And also there are galleries of pictures. So I get to do updated pictures of my family and, what's happened since then. And again, it's not a very expensive proposition. And it's really nice to be able to have something that lives sort of online forever. And again, that might not be right for everybody, but it's something that's an idea for people to be able to at least have more memories.
Right. And to keep the spirit alive, because their spirit's alive in your mind. But sometimes people have a hard time talking about it and they don't know what to say. And we get into this in another video about friendships, but
Yes.
things change. There are going to be changes that you'll see start to happen. And that's scary. And it can be lonely sometimes because you feel like you're the only one with these thoughts going through your mind. My husband happened to wake up in the hospital. He didn't wake up, sorry, but he passed on St. Patrick's Day.
Wow.
Are you kidding me? He always said for the 30 years I was with him that he wanted to go to heaven to meet his father. His father passed when he was 16, and I want to have a green beer with him on St. Patrick's Day.
Wow.
He passed
Wow.
St. Patrick's Day at 9 o'clock in the morning. And it was almost comforting in a way, to know that, wow, he used to say that and he's gone and he's having that green beer right now. So every day it's difficult. My boys are older now, so they kind of do their own party and thing on St. Patrick's Day. But I make sure to get together with a girlfriend and we go somewhere and have corned beef and cabbage, so we don't have to cook.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
it's my celebration for him.
Wow. That's really special. That's the other thing about holidays. You're dealing with first holidays now. Sometimes family doesn't want to say anything because they're a little worried. What should I say? What would help? What shouldn't help? The worst thing for family to do is nothing.
That's right.
When family decides not to speak about that person, that is the most
Oh.
hurtful thing. I ended up going to a bat mitzvah only 3 months afterwards, and not one family member mentioned his name.
Oh,
And I'll tell you something, in
you
my
don't like
heart,
that.
just painful,
Your
really
heart
painful.
breaks. It does.
Heart breaks. But they thought, see, here's the thing. They
Right.
thought that it would be worse if they say, oh, don't you miss Fred now? Or don't you wish he was here or something? They thought that would be horrible. So they meant well, but people don't realize how important it is. That person is still with you,
Right.
and that you haven't just eliminated them because they're not physically here anymore.
And then hopefully you'll have some gatherings like I've been to, and a lot of the nieces and nephews are there, and they're older in their 20s and 30s now, and they all have good memories of Uncle Jim. So they are constantly telling stories. Remember when Uncle Jim did this? Oh my God, here comes the turkey. Remember when this happened? And by talking about the deceased person, you bring up such a very good point, Lisa. That's so important because it makes you feel in your heart, validated. He was here for how many years? He was part of our lives, a big part of our lives, a loud part of our lives. So the more we talk about him, the more his spirit stays in our lives.
That's right. We will get to the topic of time because time does change quite a lot. But in that first 6 months or whatever, just really everyone needs to be careful about making decisions. People want to sort of jump at something. Let's make a decision. I've got to get out of the house. Just have to get through and just find their new normal, the new life that they're going to lead. There will be many options as time goes on because your life will be different. But just get through and try and find your next sort of equilibrium. I call it an equilibrium because
And
that's
that's a
what you're
good
trying
word.
to do. Yeah.
That's a good word. And
Yeah.
also, I want to point out too that the last thing on your mind is eating or drinking correctly or taking a walk and exercising. And when you start to stuff your face, because with me all my life, when I've had emotions, and a lot of people do, you don't care. I mean, I remember one night I was so distraught that I had eggs and bacon, then I had another meal after that, then I had something else because I was just stuffing comfort food
Yeah.
into my body thinking that it might help. So take stock. Once a month, I say take stock and just sit quietly with yourself and review. Have you gained 10 pounds this past month? Right? But they're big issues because you need your help.
Yeah.
Your health is really important not to let yourself go.
Yeah.
So if you could take stock and review how your emotions were and how you're feeling, and we all know that eating sugar versus eating your proteins and vegetables, you feel a lot differently after those meals.
Yeah.
So that's important.
It is, but it is very hard. Number one,
Oh,
just
yeah,
taking care of yourself and getting through each day and
yeah.
trying to figure out how you're going to just live. Very, very hard. And then you've got people giving advice. Why don't you do this? Why don't you try this? You get all kinds of noise coming through. And you just have to quietly figure out where you are, figure out how you feel, and figure out how you're moving in your own way.
How you're
Because
moving forward and
that's
filter
right.
the advice because some of it will be
So
good advice.
absolutely, absolutely.
Others don't let it get to you, let it go through one ear and flow right through the other ear,
Yes, yes, yes,
because you'll move on and you'll grieve in your own way. It's,
yes.
I got to tell you, and this is why I started my career as a doula, because the feeling, my husband was the first loss of 14 total losses in my
Mm,
life in a short
mm,
period of time. But the overwhelming feeling was with him, and they were close people in my life, the other 13.
mm.
But with him, maybe because I slept in the same room with him every night for how many years, right? It was so overwhelming. I physically, the way that I could describe it is like it was a big crane, a big piece of construction equipment, whatever that might be. And it was pounding me down into the ground, pounding me down. And it was a weight.
Yeah,
It was a weight that I couldn't get off me.
yeah.
And
That's
when
an
I
interesting
finally
visual.
did go back to work weeks later, finally did go back to work, and I says, okay, this is good. I've got this. And I leave my building and I go to the parking garage and I grab my phone out of my pocketbook and I call his cell phone
Mm,
because that's what I did every day getting into the car to
yes,
talk about dinner or what do we, how's
yes,
everything today,
yes, yes,
right?
yes, yes.
So hard,
That's an
overwhelmed.
interesting visual. For me, it's really when they say a broken heart, that really is how you feel. In your heart, you have that heaviness that you think will never go away. Will never go away. That's absolutely how I felt.
Yeah.
And I've been through a lot of death all my life.
Hmm.
And each one, has its own separate
Sure.
situation.
They're all
And,
different.
and of course the person too, the person that you've lost, who it was and all. But it truly feels like it will never leave, will never leave. And that's,
And then some things we're going to discuss too a little bit later on in our series is that, we do have choices. We
yeah,
have choices. And believe me, just because Lisa and I can talk about this, we still have hard days.
absolutely.
We're not making light of this at all, but we
Absolutely.
both know that there are choices
Yeah.
that we can make as time moves on every day. You have a choice to
Yep.
not get out of bed
Yep.
and
Yep.
to stay under the blankets and grieve and be depressed and open a bottle of wine a night. You have
Yes.
that choice.
Yes. Yes.
Or you have the choice to handle it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
And both choices are challenging, but we're hoping that you opt for a little bit better after you get past the initial wave,
Yes.
right?
Yes. It, to me, it comes back to that serenity prayer, that God grant me the serenity, the courage to change the things I can and that whole thing. And it's really interesting because there are so many things that we don't have any control of, but we
No,
do have control over how we react and how we decide to move forward and all. And that is really part of our ability, a wonderful ability that we will have to control our lives, our attitude, our positivity, our emotions. We do have that choice, even though we feel at the time that we don't. But I think the most important thing to end with this is that time does change things. Time is an amazing healer. And people told me that. And I said, no, no, I'm always going to feel this way. I'm never going to feel any different.
Yeah,
And it's true. Time does change. So really, Susan, in our next video, we're going to talk about time and how time incredibly heals and modifies how we choose to live our lives, the choices that we make, and the changes that we make in our lives, even without that person in our lives. It really is about moving on. That really is the bottom line.
it is. It is. And I know we're going to end this here, but I also want to say part of what gave me comfort all along is that I've always been a believer that things happen
Mhm.
in our lives for a reason, right? We may never know what the reason is, but when you look at death and dying, it's inevitable.
It is.
It's we're all going to travel this journey. We're here for 100 years if we're lucky. If we're lucky and blessed, we're here a little longer than the next guy. But we all came in, and we came in with nothing, by the way, and it's ironic how we leave with nothing, right? So
Yeah.
we need to enjoy this journey because we're all going there. And if we could surrender to that a little bit and know that this is part of life,
Yes.
it's
Yes.
part of our life,
Yes.
I think it helps the process a little bit as well.
Yeah, I always say that death has been a part of my life all my life. And
Yeah,
that's true for me. And you're lucky if you haven't had deaths in your life. I mean,
yeah,
most people, maybe it was an animal, it was a bird or some kind of pet. But most of us are grandparents when we were younger or other people. Um, and it is a natural thing, and we need to figure out how to do this in a way that is comforting, in a way that seems natural. And that's what you and I are really talking about. That's what you and I believe in.
exactly. And that's why we're doing these open, candid discussions about death and dying because if they help in some small way, that's all we want to do. You
Yeah.
know, we
Yes.
want to
So
help
the
you to
main
get through.
Yep. So the main takeaway here is that the grieving process is a process. Allow yourself to go through stages and natural feelings, and it's okay. You're going to be okay. And I
Yes,
think we need to make sure that everybody knows that.
yes,
So thank
absolutely.
you. And next time we'll talk about time.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.